Jagex just revealed their entire roadmap for the rest of the year. And there is a lot of exciting stuff to talk about, including new bosses, skilling activities, and all kinds of other things. But in this video, I want to talk about one thing in particular, which is of course, Group Ironman mode. After all, I am Mr. Iron Erexor, and that is the most exciting reveal that we've had in this roadmap for me. In this video, I'm gonna be talking about all kinds of things, including my opinions, my wishes, my hopes, my fears, and all my thoughts about this brand new game mode. There is so much to talk about and so much to cover, so let's jump into things. I really hope they don't play it too safely with this game mode, and that this game mode will actually give a completely fresh experience to playing RuneScape. I want there to be a lot of differences so that Group Ironman mode is very differentiated from normal Ironman mode and from normal accounts. This video will have tons of opinions, so please do jump into the comments if you love or hate any of my ideas on this. First off, it is of course an Ironman mode, and therefore there are a few non-negotiables, which are no treasure hunter, no grand exchange, and no trading with other players outside of the group. And luckily, it does seem that those have been stated right in the news post, as we can see right here. No treasure hunter, no GE, no player trading, also no XP benefiting boosts, which are essentially treasure hunter items. And that's good! But beyond that, we do not have much information on this game mode, which leaves a lot up for the development team to figure out over the next few months as they get ready to release this update. The update is in very early stages of development, and therefore this video essentially aims to bring my ideas out there. And the first thing I want to talk about is that I want this game mode to be one thing above all else, and that is just plain fun. Just make it a fun, new way to experience RuneScape. That should be the mission statement. I don't care about it being like this extreme challenge, it just should be fun and a new way to play RuneScape. If it achieves that, then this update will be a massive success, because if it puts a spin on RuneScape that we haven't experienced before, we essentially get to play through all the content again through a new lens, in a new light. And that is just gonna be amazing, it's gonna keep us busy for a while, and it's just exactly what Ironman mode was when it released. But that also touches on my biggest fear for this mode, and that is that it could be, if implemented very plainly, too similar to Ironman mode. A big reason why RuneScape 3 Group Ironman mode could be problematic is that a lot of the items in RuneScape 3 are untradeable, so at some point you might get to a level of progression where you start getting upgrades for your Ironman account, and you essentially can't really trade them between your team anyway because they're augmented and all this stuff. We'll talk about possible solutions to that in a bit, but that is a big problem that we could run into. That late game Group Ironman mode essentially will just be 5 separate Ironman accounts, which don't really change too much. A big problem also is that team members can essentially just get bored. Like, you could be playing Group Ironman mode with a few team members, and if people start falling off, you essentially are just playing Ironman mode again. It runs the risk of being the exact same game mode once your team members give up on the accounts. And that of course is a big problem in old school with Group Ironman, I've heard. And I hope we can get some changes into this mode to avoid that problem. And I hope the developers do everything they can to truly encourage fun group gameplay, whether it be tweaking existing content or making new content in the coming years that is very focused on group activities. I feel like this has to be a focus for this game mode to be successful in the long term, because you aren't just relying on just your own investment in the game, you're also relying on team members enjoying the game and coming back to play with you. So let's talk about some activities you would be doing in this game mode specifically. A big one obviously are group PVM and activities. And I feel like there should be some encouragement to keep PVM and all these activities within your group, because that's kind of is the whole point of Group Ironman in my opinion. It would be a shame if you just have a Group Ironman account and then one of your team members just kinda leeches from their main account and gets all these big upgrades right away, and it kinda ruins the spirit of the Group Ironman account. I think Old School has a system that essentially is just like a prestige system, where if you do PvM with people outside of your team, you just lose the status. Like you lose the prestige status, it's kind of like losing your hardcore status or something like that. That is a option. Another option obviously is just hard locking these activities to your group only. I feel like that's something that should be pulled or something, because if it were up to me, I personally would want it to be in the group, but I know a lot of people also voted for normal Ironman accounts to be able to PvM with non-Irons. So there's definitely some discussion to be had there within the wider community. I just really want this mode to be hyper fixated on making gameplay with your team members very fun and required. So I personally wouldn't mind it being locked to those people specifically. I have discussed this with some people already, and one big thing that people come back with is there are encounters in the game which are designed for more people than 5, and we are going off the assumption that Group Ironman is going to be maxed out at 5 people. Specifically, Angel of Death is designed for 7 people, and raids are designed for 10 people. Personally, I don't see this as a negative that you can only do these bosses with your team members, because this changes Group Ironman compared to other game modes. The more changes this game mode has to other game modes, the better in my opinion, as it makes the game fresh again. And sure, it might be harder to take out raids or AOD with your smaller team, but it definitely is possible. People are doing it all the time with lower team members, and it is absolutely possible to take these bosses out. Especially with how much power creep the game has had since these bosses were introduced. Yeah, Kamaru might be tricky, even though it's still possible, but you can just do Durzak to get all the raid rewards, and AOD is absolutely possible in smaller team sizes. Of course, with a prestige system like Old School, you can still have both options available, where some teams stick to activities within their team and others still have the option to do it without. The same can also be said for things like minigames and other activities that you can do in groups, like dungeoneering. I would love to see all that be in a group, but locked to the group themselves. Again, you can disagree with me on this, that's what the comments are for, but I personally want big incentives to be playing together actively in this game mode, because that is something that is lacking in the game in general, and I would love to see this mode focus on that very much. And that brings us onto a big question that I touched on earlier, but what should be tradable between accounts in this game mode? Because anything that is tradable on a main account will likely be tradable between these accounts, and that is a good thing, but honestly, I feel like they should go further than that. I can imagine that you're playing this game mode and you're doing a boss, and for example, you get the Dragon Rider lance as a drop. Let's say you also unlocked Invention, and you put some great perks on the lance. If we assume that Group Ironman will have the exact same trade mechanics as main accounts, you would essentially have to unaugment the weapon and repair it every single time you want your other team members to be able to use that weapon. And therefore, I think augmentable items should be tradable between these accounts. I don't necessarily think that needs to be changed for all accounts. I think the development team needs to consider making changes specifically to Group Ironman mode, and this is one of them. I really want Jagex to be brave and make some big changes that we don't even consider in this video, and just really make this mode special and different, both from what we expect and from what Old School has right now, to truly incentivize this type of shared gameplay. So moving on from augmented items, I also want degradable items to be tradable. And beyond that, things like dyed items would be great as well. That way, you can get a dye for your team and essentially have a cool weapon that you can share between each other. Again, this probably should not carry over to main accounts, as that would affect the economy a ton, and I think the team should be free to make these type of cool changes to Group Ironman mode, and then later on, if the community thinks this is something that should be applied to main accounts as well, that can be decided later on through some polls or something. On the point of dyes, you might have one person in your group that is extremely fond of doing clue scrolls, and other people might not be enjoying them so much. So why not make things like clue scrolls themselves tradable? That way you can have one person in your team gather clue scrolls while the other person is completing them, allowing both people to do the things that they enjoy. This is what Group Ironman should be all about. being able to focus on the activities that you enjoy while having some team members pick up the slack in the things that they enjoy that you might not. That is what I want to see in this game mode, and that is where it can truly shine in making RuneScape a more fun and new experience. Beyond that, things like the frozen core of Lang or something should be tradable as well, in my opinion. It's not for main accounts, but for group Ironman, it could be great, because multiple team members could be doing a boss to chip away at the untradable parts that can then be put together for an upgrade for the team, allowing for group Ironman to be a mode where you can progress quicker as you can work together, instead of still having one person having to grind out the entire boss before they can assemble the weapon that they are going for. I feel like if two team members get separate parts that are untradable, they should be able to combine them into the upgrade. And finally, I gotta be honest, I've been holding back on you guys. I've just been giving examples because what I truly want to see is that for group Ironman, there are no untradable items. The only exceptions should be things that are truly game breaking, for example, something like a quest item. I want everything to be tradable. Treasure troves, clue scrolls, clue caskets, augmented items, degraded items, every single thing in the game I feel like should be tradable between group Ironman. Even something as crazy as quest reward lamps. Sure, it might make the game a bit easier, it might be less balanced, but it's gonna be more fun. And it's going to incentivize fun cooperative gameplay where you share your resources way more. You could have a player focus on herblore and unlock overloads for the entire team. You could have a person gather clue scrolls and allow another person to complete them. You could share your augmented weapons without having to destroy them. You can dye weapons and share in the enjoyment of having a cool weapon. And so much more. I am having a hard time to think if there are some items that would truly break the game, but if there are some, then those should be exceptions. But even untradable items like quest items, like if they would allow you to skip parts of a quest or something, I would be down for that. Like, that is crazy, completely different way to play the game, and I'm all about that type of thing. In fact, consider making quests complete for the entire group. Make that an option, make that a toggle. Again, feel free to argue on that, but I'm just giving crazy suggestions. I want Jagex to think outside of the box and allow room to make this game mode truly special and unique in its own different way. I want to see changes that are specific to group Ironman and completely change the way we think about trading. I don't want group members to be trading between each other. I want group members sharing the same progression as much as possible. That mostly means shared items, but I would be totally open to sharing passive unlocks, abilities, all this type of stuff. Sure, it might make the progression quite a bit quicker as you don't have to get 5 of each ability codex, but it would be a fun new way to play the game. And that is the main thing that I want. I'm even open to extending that ID to all kinds of other unlocks. Like, for example, if one person does a quest, it could unlock for all the other players. If one person unlocks an ability or a codex or appraisal ability or something like that, it could unlock for all the players. If one person gets a passive, it could unlock for all other players. Obviously, something like that would make group Ironman quite a bit easier than if it wasn't like that, but it would be a new and fun way to play the game. For example, is it more fun to do Raksha and grind out 5 different greater ricochet abilities, having to choose who unlocks it every single time you get one? Or is it more fun to get the ability and rejoice as a team as you now all have greater ricochet? Personally, I know what I would choose. Let's talk about hardcore Ironman, because I don't think it has been hard confirmed whether or not we're getting it. But of course, it would be a huge loss if we didn't get it. It definitely is going to be interesting to see how they implement it if they do. It's also going to be interesting to see how the group system works exactly. So it's going to be interesting to see if we get systems to replace people, add in new people, or change out your team, stuff like that. Or if it's going to be hard locked when you start a team together. On top of this, there's going to be a lot of potential for interesting self-restricted challenges on these group Ironman accounts. Like, just imagine a group Ironman account where each person restricts themselves in some way. For example, you could have a team of 3 where one person is only allowed to be in the wilderness, one person is only allowed to be in Mauritania, and one person is only allowed to be on Karamja. And then see how far you can get by getting the items that each person need and trading them between each other and kind of progressing in that way. Could be an interesting self-restricted challenge. Another one that comes to mind, obviously, is locking yourselves to certain combat styles. So you could have a team of 3 or 4 people. Each person chooses or randomly assigns themselves a combat style. Like, for example, I'm the mage, my friend over here is the ranger, we've got another guy who's a meleeer, and then this person is going to be the necromancer, and we can only use that style. In fact, I think that is going to be such a common approach for people to take that I think it could be interesting that if at the start of creating your group Ironman, that could be an option, like toggling, I am the ranger, or like I am a meleeer, and I can only get XP in this combat style, and I can only equip these items. I do think it would be cool if that was actually an officially supported toggle in the game mode, but of course, even if it isn't, it's gonna be something that people are gonna self-restrict themselves to do anyway, and it's gonna be really cool to see, in my opinion. And that brings us on to my plans. What is gonna be my plan with Group Ironman mode? Well, it is a bit early to tell because obviously we do not have all the details yet. We don't even know if there's gonna be a hardcore version of the mode. But one thing is certain, I'm definitely going to be trying game mode. I'm definitely going to be making some sort of content on it. What I really want is to perhaps work together with some other content creators and create the best Group Ironman mode series there is. I'm not entirely sure who that would be with yet. I've talked to a bunch of people, but nothing is confirmed or set in stone with anyone. If there is anyone that you would like to see on my team, do let me know as well. I'll consider that. And I am also considering doing a self-restricted challenge, whether it be locking myself to a certain combat style or anything like that. So please do also tell me if you have more ideas along those lines. In conclusion, all I want to say is that I hope that this game mode will be meaningfully different from the other Ironman account types that we have. And of course from main accounts as well. I want it to be so different in ways that we don't expect yet, and also different from the way old school handles things in meaningful ways. I would love to see 0 trade restrictions and therefore being able to trade even every single untradeable item in the game amongst your group members. I really hope they don't play it safe and they just experiment. Use this as a chance to truly experiment, give us a completely fresh look of RuneScape, and if they can achieve that and make RuneScape truly fresh again, then we will be playing this for years to come.